In the shadow of the Gateway Arch, we're ready to rumble for the final oval race in the INDYCAR iRacing Buttkicker qualifying series. After this, just a trip to America's National Park of Speed, and of course in the Mid-Ohio Sports Car course for our drivers to endure before 33 find their names called when we make our way to the first round of the Pro Series. September the 19th awaits, but here live on RaceSpotTV, delighted to have your company once again. Our Junior Kanki Party on comms with Dustin Ollis behind the scenes, bringing you all the action. If you're just joining us, what a exciting journey it's been so far. Starting at Speedway, Indiana, of course, for the first oval race after the streets of Long Beach saw the season begin on July the 18th. Now just 2 more races left to go. Our point situation very much becoming established, and the races left to come at Road America and the Mid-Ohio Sports Car course could be very, very important for some of these drivers to establish their credentials. Costantini at the very top leads by just under 30 points from Jordan Caruso and Diogo Pinto, and in the mix there, 2 world champions hunting down someone expected to be a major contender later on this year. A nice mix, of course, of the iRacing INDYCAR regulars alongside World Championship contenders of iRacing history books. Josh Chin, Adam Crane, Rob Malechka, all joining Trano in their journey to try and fight for the championship later this year. Remember, there are multiple splits of racing going on, and so this race in particular, the top split of the round at Worldwide Technology Raceway, likely to see a few more of the drivers with significant oval I rating. So expect the likes of Malechka and company to be out in force, and potentially Pinto and a few others trying to score some points in a lower split. Less points on the line, yes, but maybe less jeopardy in terms of the speed out on track. There's a look from up above. What a wonderful racing facility this is. Of course, we don't have fireworks going off on the side. We also have power around the entire track as qualifying is underway. 5 minutes for the drivers, track to themselves, and 2 laps. About 30 seconds left to go. And as it stands right now, in these relatively warm conditions for the drivers, I expect this qualifying session to be somewhat important. That's the All-American iRacers machine that works its way off of turn 2. 40 degrees Celsius on track, 30 kilometers an hour of wind, though. That's going to be significant. How are these drivers going to deal? We've already had plenty of racing at this track over the week. On Monday night, we had coverage of RaceSpot Monday Night IndyCar, where Jason Brophy took the win over Adam Blocker. What's it going to be today, though? Not under the night lights, warmer track temperatures, less grip expected. Let's run you down trackside, take a look at the starting grid. 108 laps on the board, and the title contenders in the VCO IndyCar Challenge will line up on the front row. Phil Kraus and Michele Costantini split by just 40 thousandths of a second, and watch for Jason Brophy inside of David Toth, the feisty Hungarian who brings the Drago racing machine up inside of the front 2 rows. Brandon Trano alongside Elliot Veyron in the Coanda Esports number 28. Great to see him in this top split and running well, with Jose Soria, former points leader earlier in the season, alongside of Seb Alexander. Kevin Burrell in the Indy Alliance Racing number 16 as Bobby Zelensky for company, a driver that's competed in his fair share of world championships with Michael Romanidis, and then Peter Berriman sharing row 6 directly behind. Hoping not unlucky 13th for Brendan Lichtenberg, the hyperstar in the Team i5G entry. He's got Pablo Espez for company in the Stealth Black car, with Josh Chin and Luis Nunez directly behind. Oscar Mangan, Andrew Marquez, only 2 thousandths of a second separates them on the 9th row of the formation, with Jeff Drake in the Powerslide Motorsports number 23 alongside the Spaceman Jacob Oster, about a quarter of a second off a pole. Josh Thompson sets an identical time to Oster, but he's behind in the order. Luke McEwen's only 1,000 slower. 3 cars split by that 1,000th, just outside of the top 20. Mark Murphy, Nick Studick, watch for them to try and carve their way from the back of the field. Indy Cassie, Brian Campbell, Sotomuto, Eric Wineland, Manuel Scully, and then Carl Klendworth, the top 30. And always interesting to see how many we make into this top split. Adam Crane and Matt Hollibaugh, they've got some work to do from the very back of the field. And one driver not pictured, Alexander Van der Sant, in that Powerslide Motorsports car. What's he going to do from the very back? So a look top to bottom at the starting grid, and a look from up high at this wonderful racing facility. Turns 1 and 2 slightly more open in terms of its entry and exit. 11 degrees of banking as well. Compare that to the other side of the speedway, slightly tighter in the nature and the radius of the corner. 9 degrees of banking to work through. The pace car are going to peel off and away, and ready for our formation laps we will work. and 108 laps are thrown onto the board. If you're wondering about fuel mileage, well, are we going to see anyone be brave? Think about potentially trying a one-stop. Green flag pit stops here, of course, put you in danger of going a lap or two down. The fuel window here can stretch as far as 55, 58 laps if you're brave. Could someone be thinking about trying something from the very back and working their way forward? Of course, the likes of Crane, Hollebach, and Van der Sant from the outside of the top 30 got plenty of work to do. But so delighted you can join us here once again. Thursday night IndyCar action, and with a World Championship berth on the line, September the 19th drawing closer and closer. 33 drivers want to fight for their share of $50,000 and to have that World Championship license next to their name. This, the final oval race of the qualifying series. It's just road courses after this. It's a stop they'll take in the Pro Series as well. In the back half of the season as we work our way to crowning our very first INDYCAR iRacing Buttkicker Pro Series champion. But for the time being, let's get the pace car off and away. Let's get the engines turned up and let's go racing here at the Worldwide Technology Raceway. It's Phil Krause, it's Costantini on the front row. Let's get the action underway. Let's turn up the engines here in the shadow of the Gateway Arch. Single file up front, and Costantini has been swarmed as they stretch their legs into turn 3. Jason Brophy already forward into second position. Can see a car looking down low. That looked to be Seb Alexander in one of the Indy Alliance racing cars. But the end of lap 1, Barney the flag man doesn't have the yellow flag out. Is it Brendan Lichtenberg slightly further behind, trying to fight with the likes of Pablo Espes, Michael Romaninas? And getting into the mix there as well. Chuck it up the inside for Luis Nunez in that number 27 machine. Now these warm conditions and the winds that we've got as well, got to be all over your in-car tools. The front and rear anti-roll bar to stiffen and soften up each end of the car, give you a little bit more grip or less grip if you need. That weight jacker as well to really just get the car rotating. Don't want to rotate the car a little bit too much. They fan out 3 wide and we almost get some contact. Romanides has to give a bit of a fade there as Luis Nunez tries to shove it up the inside. And one of the All-American iRacers car, might be Evan Adams behind, just about pulls out and gets off the throttle in the nick of time. But this is pretty feisty stuff. There goes the move on Oscar Mangan as sliding forward does go. Adams in the All-American iRacers car. Fastest laps are chucking and changing around though in these early stages. Expect the drivers to be thinking about the tire conservation as we work through the first 40 or so laps of the race. I guess though, if you're Phil Krause, you're just thinking, I've got clean air, I'm as happy as I can be. Margin at the line, 1 full second between him and his teammate in the private label team height with Power Slide car. Tommy Milner, Corvette factory driver, co-owner of the team, will be watching on from somewhere. Delighted. Also see Josh Chin down there in 13th and the third of the private label team height cars. And Chin really amongst where all of that fighting is, because Oster tried to slide his way forward into 17th. Shuffled back in line as a result of that, and as alongside Peter Berryman tries to fight there, long way around, excuse me, no, that's Luke McEwen in the second of the Apex Racing cars. New York's own Andrew Marquez down low. Very, very interesting stuff with Murphy around the outside of Thompson. That's a bold, that's an aggressive move. So keep an eye on Mangan in the blue and pink. Now no longer, of course, with the team at Altus Esports. Flies the colors of Devlin DiFrancesco, at least for the time being. If he makes the Pro Series, wonder what colors we'll see on that car. So around the outside, can Mark Murphy's Indy Alliance racing car hold the position on Marquez? Yes, indeed it does. And down low, there goes Alexander Van der Sant in the white and purple machine. So all through the field, you're seeing these runs through the congestion build up. Van der Sant slides his way past into 28th position. That was a nice and easy move to get past the slightly slow machine of Carl Klendworth behind him. All starting to stretch our way though towards where these tires are going to feel the pain. That was Adam Crane, who almost ran himself off the wall, off of turn 2 I should say, into the wall. Quite remarkable though. 8 laps complete and 33 still rumble down across the start finish line. Your race leader still 8/10 clear of his teammate sitting behind. Costantini, Traino, and then David Toth. The rest of the top 5. We've got a car in the wall, and I'm not sure if Josh Thompson's got any damage as a result of that one. You can see Crane slid through the middle. We're still 3 wide into turn 3. Thompson's almost run over from Van der Sande. He's got absolutely no momentum. And now as he pulls out of line, might allow Matt Holliber to streak on through as well. Whoa. This is the danger of qualifying down low. And Alexander Van der Sande keeps himself out of trouble. It's Josh Thompson, the sole representative of Team Redline, that is now going to head straight down to pit lane. Oh, and that's a shame for his chances potentially at the championship. Not necessarily seeing any side pod damage from a far look. Coshed into the wall. Meanwhile, David Toth passes Brandon Traino. The king of the bricks almost in slow motion there. Elliot Veyron jinks down low as well. Slides his way on forward. That was bold. And now, here comes another one. Make that 3 in the space of a lap as Jose Soria. He's not quite clear of Brandon Traino, but gets the slide job done eventually. Wonder if Traino also somewhat dangerously close to the wall. Again, I mentioned, we can potentially see a fuel run go as long as 55 or so laps. A situation that would indeed take us to a one-stop race. Is that why some of these drivers are saving tires potentially? As Mark Murphy now cracks his way up into the top 20, sliding past Luke McEwen. Oh, Peter Berryman, McEwen's teammate. Well, almost contact there with him and one of the Kawanda cars. Excuse me, that was Brandon Traino, Bobby Zelensky. It's hashtag Blame Arjuna Day. That's what we're going with here today. I will say though, what a field that we've got in store as Zelensky slips on past. Traino might have some damage, you know, here. Wondering if there is, similarly with Bosch Thompson's, some side pod underfloor damage that's slowing him down. But yeah, it's a beautiful day in Utah. I can tell you that right now. I'm not outside in Utah though. I'm in a room where it's not as nice as it is outside. So we'll get through this race, then I'll go outside. And next week we'll have plenty more coverage of this series to come. Don't forget, Monday night INDYCAR action makes its way up to Watkins Glen. And then on Thursday, the Pro Series rumbles its way to Road America for, let's be honest, a rather short 26-lap affair, all things considered. The VCO INDYCAR Challenge, the last round on Saturday, which Eduardo Leo won, was 50 laps in length. So, you know, about half the length is this Pro Series race, the qualifying series race at least. Very curious what that's going to end up looking like for, you know, your respective drivers as lap traffic plays its part. Josh Thompson seemingly out of the race, but he's not running dead last just yet. Instead, Eric Wineland, who must have grazed the wall at some point. He's 8 laps down, I think, on the rest of the field. And in the PPG colors, allowing your leaders to cycle on through without too much harm. So, AJ Musselman is positing in chat that Traino is saving fuel to try and go for the overcut. That is, you know, very much thinking, though, that there is going to be an overcut to come as moves being made. Kevin Burrell alongside of Pablo Espez. Now, Pablo Espez got tangled up with AJ Musselman on Monday night. Great to see Pablo getting more and more experience in the car, although I'm not sure if AJ necessarily agreed the experience on Monday was what was desired. But for a driver in Europe, these are races already at uncomfortable times of the day. This is the same situation that these same drivers will find themselves in the World Championship if they get there. End of lap number 18 for your leader. And still 1 second up front. Jason Brophy really not able to make any inroads. And so you'd probably assume the setup pretty similar between the teammates. Question now slowly starts to build. If we're thinking about a long green flag run, we're talking about possibilities, potentials for a green flag pit stops. When do we see some lap traffic? At some point, your race leader is going to get onto the back of the top 30. And then things will get interesting, that is for sure. Ooh, there's the track map, bottom right corner of your screen. As yellow flag is out and is, I believe, one of the Apex Racing Team cars. That's Luke McEwen. Oh, and he's lost part of the front wing as well. Ooh, left front part of the front wing missing. Well, the steering, at least the wheel's not flapping around as McEwen wiggles the car around, trying to figure out how much grip he's got left. But all of that talk of green flag pit stops get thrown out the window. And are we going to see anyone at the back of the pack elect to come on in? If you're Brandon Traino as well, and if you did feel like you were taking some damage, is this your opportunity to try and get some of that repaired? We'll take a look, though, at the leaders who have committed to pit entry as well. Remember, you must take the access road in from turn 3 to come down to pit lane. So Kraus, Brophy, Costantini. No, Costantini stays out. David Tothon. Jose Soria come in. It's Kawanda. Oh, so Jorns Jens. Pash Gergis. Maybe they've seen something on the box and made the call out to Costantini, to Kraus, to Veyron to stay on out there. Now, Van der Sat stays with them. That was to be expected. Carl Clenworth and Matt Holliber to elongate this first stint as well. 6 cars on track. Rest of the field in pit lane, either for a service or there and sitting for some rather lengthy damage repairs. Josh Thompson confirmed, by the way, as a DNF. Race off and away. No major changes expected here. Behind Traino, Espes beats Burrell, Berryman, Alexander, and Lichtenberg off. And it does seem as though Brandon Traino, even after the 6 positions he's lost since the start of this race, of course, factor in the drivers that have stayed out there as well, doesn't actually lose time on the pit stop. Let's take a look at the replay machine. Tells us always what has happened. And Sotomuto up the inside. Now, was that netcode? Ooh, and that All-American iRacers car, I think that's Matt Holliber, does a very good job to avoid the wreck. Now, Sotomuto is racing from Japan. Luke McEwen's racing from Corby in the UK. And the race server, I'm assuming, is in Boston. We don't often talk about the intricacies of netcode, but yeah, I'm just wondering, could either driver have done much more in that situation? Luke McEwen is still sitting on pit lane, by the way. I'm not sure if he will get the chance to roll back out. Let's take a look as well. I mentioned that the All-American iRacers car just about squeaked on through. Here's a look from his perspective. Where do those green gloves glow? I tell you what, didn't really panic, didn't really even shuffle up high that much. That was very, very well judged. And then, of course, stays out. And he's gone from outside of, what, the top 30 to suddenly in 6th position on this restart. So indeed, getting the split strategy that I think some may have expected. I'm not sure if necessarily it was expected to be in this form, with Kawanda the ones that would elect to stay out. With Veyron, Zelensky also qualifying well behind Costantini. They are in a very strong position potentially to try and control the rhythm of this race from now at least until the green flag pit stops potentially could kick off. Fresh tires, though, that is something to keep in mind with the fact that we've got the sun baking the track. It was 40 degrees Celsius out in qualifying on the track temperature. Yet dropped 2 degrees Celsius. The winds died down about 9 kilometers an hour. Yes, but these are tricky conditions for racing, to say the very least. I'm just keeping an eye on these Kawanda machines, by the way. Are they all the same livery? Costantini and Veyron's, they're the same livery. Bobby Zelensky's definitely got a different livery. And I can almost guarantee you that is the iRacing default livery, just with some purple and oranges on it that Bobby Zelensky has picked up. Anyway, my eyes will move away from that. Veyron and Costantini, of course, in their paint schemes for the VCO IndyCar Challenge. Bobby Zelensky just rocking the default. I tell you what, let's turn up the sound of the engines once again. Caution period comes to a close. We'll send the pace car driver back down to pit lane, and this time it's Kawanda 1 through 3. Green flag in hand. We're ready to go racing once again. Out of turn 4, here comes the Coanda machine. 1, 2, and 3 they ride. Alexander Van der Sande, of course, the one then directly behind them. And if you're Phil Krause and if you're Jason Brophy, doesn't seem as though they made much headway on this initial race start. It's Pablo Espes in the 22. He's really thrown a lunge up the inside of Brandon Traynor, peeled him off the back of Jose Soria. I think it's cost them, compromised them to the tune of about 6 or 7 tenths of a second, respectively, there. Right, 25 or so laps now, 26 laps complete. And oh, there you go. Signal of intent. Costantini, new fastest lap. It's a 24.875. For Phil Krause, 25.367, so half a second slower that time by. Clean air important, fuel load important. I'm a bit surprised, though, to be honest, that tires don't seem to be more important. Jason Brophy seems to be looking on the back of Phil Krause, if anything, at this point. And then you've got the gap building between Matt Holliber and Kyle Clenworth in front. Private label team hype, the pink and the yellow. Gonna look down low on the number 17 car. Matt Holliber, by the way, who has had some success in oval qualifying series races in the past. Back in Pocono, I think it was last year, or maybe it was 2022, in the Force Dynamics or Turn Racing Grand Prix IRO1 series. Matt Holliber, turn 3, big move. Yes, a little bit of contact, but a race winner nonetheless. A long way to go in this race to see if he can repeat that, if we're being fair. But let's see what happens. Seb Alexander slow on, now back in pit lane, and he's taken the toe. He's absolutely torn off not just the front end. Looked like he'd done some damage to the back end as well, and maybe not just slammed the front end of the car into the wall, but then maybe some compound impacts after that as well. Van der Sande, by the way, now 1.3 seconds clear of Clenworth. These top 4 showing their strength up front as they build their advantage. Let's check out what happened to the Indy Alliance Racing number 26. He's up high, he's got Oster down low, and a big snap out of turn 2. Rear end hits the wall first, then the front end hits as well. Multiple impacts as expected. And because he reset so quickly, safety car not out, and we stay clean and green. But now Phil Krause is going to make the move on Kyle Clenworth. Already, of course, having dispatched of Holliber in the All-American iRacers car. Jason Brophy at least 6 car lengths back, though, from the number 18, still with some work to do to try and bring that margin down. Here's 2 staples, though, of the IndyCar community. It's Chin alongside of the Lichtenberg Hyperstar entry. Around the outside, potentially, of Kevin Burrell. 3 wide, here we come. Thank you very much. Now that's Jacob Oster in the white, purple, and gold front-ended livery, it would seem. Not sure where his Team I5G colors have gone, but we'll interrogate him after the race for that. The new I5G livery, by the way, does look rather nice. The blue and white on Lichtenberg's car slides up in front of Burrell, can't do much but lift off the throttle. And this fight for 14th position, suddenly almost losing the draft of those in front. Berryman's Apex Racing car directly behind his teammate of Brandon Traynor. Oh, 2 by 2 across the line. Fight for 14th, not settling down by any means. And again, the longer we go, these drivers will start to then get the tire advantage on those in front. Teammates going to switch around here as Oster makes the move on Lichtenberg. That's about as easy as you'd like. Now can Chin not only pass Burrell around the outside, no, he's lifted on the throttle. He's not going to try and commit to the inside of Brendan Lichtenberg's car as well. Given that these drivers have now done, 13 laps on the tires. They've spent more time on these tires in green flag conditions, I believe, than we did from the first stint, at least from what my timing screen is telling me. There you go, we're not quite there yet. 36 minus 14. Commentator's math never to be trusted. Ooh, there's a bit of a wobble. And so as Oscar Mangan tries to roll some speed, didn't really have a chance for that Coanda car to make the move. And so now there's another look from one of the Drago cars. Meanwhile, Jose Soria going to get around the outside of Kyle Clenworth. And so now 3 drivers have gotten in front of Clenworth and Holliber, although that was uncomfortably close to the wall. David Toth behind Holliber, so The second Drago car in queue trying to cycle its way up into the top 8 as well. But not an easy task by any means. There's a great run from Alexander van der Sant. Bobby Zalenski, bit out of shape, out of turn 2 and into the slightly tidier radius corner at turn 3. Tidier line on entry from Zalenski as he went around the outside. Just maintained that momentum. Great stuff. Bobby Zalenski, of course, busy week for him. On Tuesday night in the first round of the playoffs in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series in his VRS and Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota Camry. Bobby Zalenski down in 19th at Michigan. It was a pack race, couldn't really do too much, I think, in terms of staying out of trouble. He's 6 points out of the cut line as he tries to fight for the championship. One of a few drivers that's been to the Final Four of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series on multiple occasions, though finally sees Alexander van der Sant slide his way up into 3rd in front of him. Yeah, that eNASCAR playoff race, by the way, Bobby Zalenski went into the postseason 2nd in the seeding. Only Steven Wilson seeded higher than him. Vicente Salas, Tucker Minter, Garrett Lowe, Graham Boland, Daniel Forkingham, Dylan Duval, Parker White, and Nick Ottinger. Well, you do have a former champion in the mix, of course, there at the very back of the field, alongside Steven Wilson at the top. It's going to be a fun championship 4. Of course, Homestead Miami going to host the 2024 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series Championship Showcase. The Final Four will be live in person from the NASCAR Hall of Fame in Charlotte, North Carolina as well, and what has very much become a bit of a tradition in the eNASCAR end-of-year celebrations. Maybe we can do something like that for the INDYCAR Pro Series down the line. I know the IMS Museum, the fantastic Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum, is currently closed, but maybe next year our final can be there at the museum. All sorts of great cars around us, and then our top 4 as well. There's David Toth up the inside, trying to finally get past the very worn tires of Matt Holliber, but outside line, we've talked about how strong it can be, how well it rolls the momentum. And the American frustrates the Hungarian for yet another corner. Well, another corner. Technically, is each end of the racetrack a corner or 2 corners? I'll leave that up to the YouTube chat to decide. It depends on where you go as well, right? Because this track 1 and 2, 3 and 4, but then Pocono, is that 5 turns or 3 turns? I don't know. Apparently, or it could be 7. You know, you could go anyway in terms of Pocono. Just a random number generator and you'll come up with your number of corners. They did the same at Road America with the track map, if we're being honest as well. You exit turn 1, go down the hill, you turn right onto the back straight, and you're at turn 3. The next time you're on the brakes is at turn 5. And yes, I know they're Marshall stations, but I want to call them by corner numbers. Anyway, where were we? On topic with the race. Oscar Mangan, front of Sotomuto, of course, involved in that incident with Luke McEwen that saw one of our cautions come out today. They're just behind the Indy Alliance Racing entry of Mark Murphy, who again did not qualify necessarily where he would have wanted to, but slowly been working his way forward. Nunez, Burrell then in front of them. And this conga line really now starting to extend now that the drivers up front who stayed out and are maybe struggling a bit more than the leaders on their tire life. Clenworth and Holliber dropping back now into the clutches of even more drivers behind. That's Brandon Traino. Well, that looks very uncomfortable. King of the Bricks. The only multi-time winner of the iRacing Indy 500. And not only the only multi-time winner, the only driver to ever have won the race back-to-back, which, of course, if the only multi-time winner, of course you're the only person to have done it back-to-back, if we're being honest. Whoa, out of turn 4, Brandon Traino wobbles his way on the back straightaway. Burrell can't take advantage of that one. I've got a request for Mr. Producer. Can we get an onboard replay of that, please? Because a lot of poo has just shot out of Brandon Traino's race suit. And unfortunately, he is still alive and on track for another 50-plus laps to survive. Oh my days. Remember Seb Alexander's big loop out of turn 2? Yeah, no such dramas for Brandon Traino. Oh, big save. Here we go. Watch the hands here. Poo's out the core. Wow. And he stays in 4th gear as well, you know. That is what is remarkable as well. But it does not matter. We've got contact out on track, and once again, the caution will fly, and Brandon Traino's in the wall. We've got a car spinning to try and avoid it as well. But this is big. Brandon Traino, inside of the top 5 in points, was expecting this to be a big points day for him as well. And that is a Rex race car for Luis Nunez. Well, he's going to have to tow that car, isn't he? Brandon Traino at front left, going no further. And here come your race. Oh, your race leaders might just be able to do something magical here. Remember when I said the fuel window could be anywhere from 55 to 58 laps? Now, could this be a no-stopper to the end? The field seems to think so. It's a busy time down on pit lane. Van der Sant's already hit his box. Remember, he qualified poorly. He's got a box all the way at the back of pit lane. Costantini's box will be up towards the front. And this race off pit road, this is meaningful. How much traffic are you willing to deal with? The answer might in some cases be plenty if it saves you some fuel. Where does Van der Sant emerge? Not in front of Costantini. He does, though, get on in front of Elliot Veyron. Phil Krause as well is able to jump in front of the number 28. Jason Brophy in front of Zelensky. The Coanda Stranglehold 1-2-3 is now being matched by the might of Powerslide and Private Label Team Hype. Drago 7th and 8th as well. Carl Clenworth's running a great race up in 10th position too. And while Luis Nunez might unfortunately now be done for the day, his former teammate at Wave Italy, Pablo Espes, up in the top 10. One more look at the replay machine. And this will be the ride with Luis Nunez. I mean, he's got an entire car width down low, if we're being honest. But is he maybe expecting Brandon Traino to give him more room? Was Brandon Traino expecting Nunez to go low? All I know is that was a little bit silly. One more look maybe from an off-board camera can give us a better perspective. Oh, and actually, was that netcode? It might very well have been. And the new damage bottle gets a good workout as well, doesn't it? Always great to see. Oh, great if you're a collector of fake INDYCAR body parts like myself. Great to see the carbon fiber go flying. I know Brandon Traino definitely did not appreciate that as much. Right, so we'll reach the halfway mark of this race under caution. We're going to restart with, I think, 55 to go, 55 onto the 55th lap. I can get my own math in my head sorted out. And so if I'm doing this correctly, that's a 53 lap run, including, of course, then the couple of laps behind the pace car. Does not seem like a tall order in these warm conditions when you do expect the drivers to be off throttle for a lot longer than they would be in the conditions we had on Monday night, which were a lot darker. We were racing under the night lights. Here, 39 degrees Celsius track temperature, not a touch of cloud cover as well, so baking the track. And that wind, it may not be 30 kilometers an hour like it was in qualifying, but these drivers would rather that be 2 rather than 22. So the 1 to go signal officially out, and as expected, a couple of cars return to pit lane to top off on fuel. So it is Andrew Marquez, Indy Cassie, Brian Campbell. They are the 3 that seem to think it's worth to come back in and top off your fuel load. So Indy Cassie Andrew Marquez, roll back out. Brian Campbell was that car that had spun to avoid the caution, but didn't pick up any damage. So all that was damaged maybe was his ego. Plenty worse things to damage at the end of the day. We've been racing for going on just about 30 minutes or so. Means if we can keep this sort of a tempo to the end, maybe another 30 minutes before we'll see the end of this race. It's time, though, to go racing once again. So let's turn up the engines. Let's hear this rumble of the Dallara IR18s here in the shadow of the Gateway Arch. It's Costantini up front, ready to lead us back to the green. Half race distance here in the INDYCAR Buttkicker iRacing qualifying series. Single file up front, the first side-by-side, just on the edge of the top 10 between Espes, Clenworth and Berryman. And so already the buffer being established for your race leaders. Clenworth going to have to tuck in behind the now sole surviving Apex Racing team machine. Not only that, slots behind Jacob Oster as well. That car still has to gain some momentum back, and behind them, what a slide job from Brendan Lichtenberg. Robbed all momentum from Matt Holliber, and now 3 wide. Oscar Mangan's lost a bit of his front wing. Adam Crane sends the slide jobs of all slide jobs, forces Mark Murphy into concession. But wow, that is big, big damage for a major contender, Oscar Mangan, right on the edge of the pit stop window. He'll go laps down, remember, if he comes in. Oh, this is heartbreaking for him. And who's that other car that's lost some front wing as well? Is that Josh Chin? It is, the king of chins in the private label team height with Power Slide car. Well, attrition's playing its part now. Thompson, Wineland, McEwen, Alexander, Nunes, Treno. That's 6 confirmed DNFs, and we're 3 wide once again as they split the stricken private label team hype car. This is frustration. Brandon Treno's just been jumping into chat to say that there was a 24-mile-an-hour gust of wind that caught him out. That really led to the big tank slapper that we saw, the change of racing suit required as well. And we jump back up to the focus up front. Brandon Treno's former teammate, Michele Costantini, who left the Apex Racing team just before this qualifying series kicked off, and now is linked up with the purple and orange. You've got Van der Sant Kraus, the pair of private label and Powerslide Motorsports teammates behind, then Veyron. Brophy, Zelensky, Soria, Toth. It's all teams right now up inside of the front 8 positions. I'm not expecting there to be too much between, I think, Costantini and Van der Sant. If you're Phil Kraus as well, you've got nothing to gain by fighting too much here, as you know, some of the other drivers up in the top 10 and 20 in points might not be in this top split. They may be down in second and third split. The Jordan Carusos, Diogo Pintos, Gustavo Ariel. I keep going with some of these names inside of the top 10. Under 50 laps to go, by the way. Appreciate your company on a Thursday evening, live on RaceSpotTV. Again, Arjuna Kankipati on the commentary, with Dustin Ollis behind the scenes, helping to bring you all of this great racing action. And really surprised that we're seeing Bobby Zelensky make a move here on Jason Brophy. Oh, that's a big slide job. And Jason Brophy, who does seem as though he will have a very realistic chance of making it into the INDYCAR Buttkicker Pro Series. One of those drivers that, I don't want to say lives for the ovals, but the ovals are where his expertise is. How do I put this nicely? He tries to get me to come into practice sessions so that I can be slow and slower than him, which, let's be honest, not very hard for me to do so. That's why I need to take out fuel, put on alternate tires, spam some push-to passes to be fast anymore. Brendan Lichtenberg still fighting, although now fighting with his teammate Jacob Oster, really, with behind them Clenworth and Hollibup. Slowly losing ground. Ooh, Brophy tries to return the favor to Zelensky. Is this going to compromise him? Jose Soria's got to the outside, so that's David Toth. Not one, but two trying to make a move. Is that yellow or Grello? Jason Brophy claims his new car is yellow, so I'm going with yellow as well. Oh, that's a big slider. Oh, ho, ho, ho. You can tell there's some risk being thrown, and here comes Espes. No momentum, of course, for Brophy. And so the former Wave Italy Racing driver able to make the move. Might even get a chance to now try and challenge David Toth. No. Off of turn 4, the Hungarian holds on. And again, just 2 oval rounds in this INDYCAR Buttkicker iRacing qualifying series. When we go racing for the Pro Series later on this year, remember we kick off the season on September the 19th. It's really not far away now. The 10-round championship does have 6 road course races and 4 oval races, so you can't afford to lose points on the oval rounds, that is for sure. Brophy's going to eventually have to concede to Espes. Might even see Peter Berryman try and make a move. Meanwhile, your leader's starting to squabble a little bit more. Costantini, Van der Sant, half a car length between them, and there's the first side of traffic. And for the first time today, a move for the lead. Down at turn 1, it's the Powerslide Motorsports number 21 of Van der Sant that rips away the lead from Costantini. Phil Kraus going to now try and bridge himself back up closer. Try and make it private label team hype and Powerslide controlling up front. Because if they can get 1, 2, and 3, suddenly things shape up very, very differently. Think back to when Kawanda were dominating up front. If you're wondering what ovals, by the way, will be part of the INDYCAR Buttkicker Pro Series, is it a surprise if I tell you we're going to Indianapolis? Maybe not. Bobby Zalewski, by the way, under fire from Jose Soria. That's the move up through turn 3. On the weight jacker is Zelensky. You can tell because he really ripped the high line there. Didn't really give him as much speed as he wanted, though. Soria's still there. Really irritating move being thrown here. Just frustrates you when you're up high. So as expected, the Pro Series will head to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway's oval for one race. We'll head to Gateway as well, back here for another 108 laps. If you're wondering where we finish the season at, it's where the real NTT IndyCar Series is going to finish up this year. Of course, the Nashville downtown race being moved over to the Nashville Super Speedway. Concrete racing surface, going to be really interesting how tire life plays out there, both in the real world, but in the sim as well, with a championship fight on the line. Looked like Jason Brophy was trying to work his way back up into the top 5, but meanwhile, Kevin Burrell's going to slide past Michael Romanidis. And that big gap up front as well to those that they're trying to chase down. That's a big target up front. So as Alexander Van der Sant, for the first time since he took the lead, establishes around a half a second buffer over those chasing him down. If this is a fuel-saving race, don't count out Alexander Van der Sant from winning it from the very front of the field. We know he likes to save some fuel. Has he been waiting? And didn't he start at the very back of the field because he didn't put a qualifying lap in? Just keep that in mind. They say qualifying is always important. 32 positions gained. The next biggest mover, by contrast, is Matt Holliber in 18 positions up to 14. Almost double the number of positions gained in that white and purple machine that leads up front. It's a interesting championship schedule, I'm not going to lie. I've just got it up in front of me right now, keeping an eye on it. It's 10 back-to-back weeks as well, which is going to be very, very interesting for the drivers. From September the 19th through November the 21st, there's not a single free Thursday. And so they finish the season off, and for those in America, the next Thursday, Thanksgiving. What a great way to finish off the season. If you had a good season, that is. If the season didn't go so well, I don't know how grateful you're going to be. Or how much thanks you'll have as well. I think the one thing, though, and I can speak for the entirety of the iRacing IndyCar community, I think, when I say this, the one thing we're grateful for this year, even outside of having this Pro Series coming to us and to our community, is just to be able to do this, to race IndyCars live on RaceSpotTV and to enjoy it. It's been a really fun summer, and Jason Brophy, I tell you what, almost drove over David Toth in through the entry to turn 3. That was a little bit close for comfort in his private label Team Hype entry. You can see him trying to find a little bit of clean air midway through the corner. Searching, trying to do something different. Speaking of climbing their way from the back, by the way, Adam Crane now trying to look past Sotomuto. Crane again alongside Matt Holliber, qualified on the outskirts of the top 30. And slowly but surely, Holliber did it on fuel strategy initially, let's not forget, climbing to the front. But even Adam Crane, there's been some moves here and there, taking full advantage of attrition as it's taken out. How many cars now? Traino, Nunez, Alexander, McEwen, Wineland, and Thompson. We all knew they were guaranteed DNFs. Can't quite believe what I'm saying, but Oscar Mangan's back out on track, isn't he? I think he is. And if you ever needed to see how important scoring points in this championship is for some of these drivers, Oscar Mangan back out there, just trying to salvage whatever he can in terms of points. He's in 27th position. Is not likely to necessarily catch anybody on track. It would have to be something else. Might be something like this, where you've got a car being slow. Bobby Zalenski's really frustrating both Jose Soria and Jason Brophy. Now that was very intelligent from Zelensky. He fed some draft to Jason Brophy, gave him a bit more of an advantage into the corner, and Brophy's just been able to absolutely rip away that spot from the Drago 15. Yes, there's a defense, attack being mounted on the outside, but this is where slide your way up the track, full throttle, the pedal buried to the floor. And indeed, Brophy back up in the 6th machine to 6th position. We are going to see, by the way, Jason Brophy this Saturday in the final round of the VCO IndyCar Challenge as one of our invited drivers. We go racing at Auto Club, 150 laps. Should be very, very fun. Phil Krause in the hunt for the championship this Saturday, and he's fighting with Michele Costantini for the crown. They fight here wheel to wheel, 27 to go. Down the back straightaway, and Costantini has got to give Krause some room. This is a battle where I don't think that they're going to fight too hard, even with that storyline of the championship hanging over them. The points are too valuable. The points are what they're here for. And now Krause back up to 2nd. And this is where, as well, we mentioned the traffic. Now, Josh Chin did come in, I believe, and get that front wing changed. Or at least it's magically popped itself back into existence. He's towing around his teammate, Alexander van der Sant. Behind Brophy, Zelensky, Soria, Toth. Is that going to start to erupt? Might even see Jacob Oster and Peter Berryman start to squabble for 11th and 12th positions. And Berryman's someone that I think needs every point that he can get. He's had a very quick summer, but not a lucky summer, if you read into what I'm saying. The pace has been there. Haven't necessarily seen the unfortunate results to follow. Jacob Oster, by the way, gives a slightly different webcam angle here today. The spaceman up high, trying to really lean on the banking to hold on. If you're curious why he's called the spaceman, when he was studying in university, he got to actually send some worm-ups to the International Space Station. Did all sorts of science and whatnot. And so the Worm Man, the Spaceman, we somewhat interchangeably call him by either one. And now the Worm Man going to rocket around the outside of Berryman to hold on to the spot. There's many puns waiting in that nickname if I was a bit punnier. We need Joey Tebbin in this commentary booth. Adam Crane. He passes Matt Holliber, although just momentarily. It's been a good race, all things considered. Couple of cautions, yes. Attrition's played its part. But we've seen some racing. And some feisty stuff at that, too. Still Bobby Zelensky on the defense. The American shapes up high. Ooh, and now David Toth. I think Bobby Zelensky's realized that he's struggling a bit too much with the tires. Let the Drago Racing teammates go. And with what is now 21 to go for your race leader up front, make that 20 at the stripe for him next time by. It's the closing stages that we're into. Now, Lewis McClade does not believe in a commentator's curse. I do. And so when I talk about the risk of a caution in these final laps, I know very well what I'm bringing down onto these drivers. But if we do get a caution inside of 5 to go, that would likely be the race over. Might also be a situation where we get a caution with 7 to go and we get a 1 or 2 lap shootout. That would be fun. So now is Costantini, by the way, I think comfortably in 3rd position. It's not really having to deal with the attack from Jason Brophy behind. Instead, it is a battle between Private Label, Team Hype, and Coanda, but it's Veyron in that number 28 machine that's trying to make some moves. Elliot Veyron, a driver who's got so much experience, of course, in real-world racing that he brings into the sim as well. And so that's going to be something to keep an eye on for him. You know, done plenty of karting, driven some Formula cars as well, and done some competing in some pretty decent ranks there. So yeah, Veyron definitely one to watch. Former Roman Grosjean esports driver, if I remember correctly, but now part of the Coanda esports lineup, and seeming as though, even though the list of drivers that look to qualify for the championship from the Coanda esports team slightly shorter than it did at the start of the season. No Zach Campbell for the remainder of this qualifying series. They are seeming as though they will have a pretty deep contingent, all things considered. Back up front. Ooh. Now, Alexander Van der Sant, I don't think is really in contention for the top 33. And so as Phil Kraus finally gets up close and then looks to the inside, yeah, not expecting him to fight that one very hard. And Kraus will take home maximum points as they sit right now. And that was a pretty coordinated move, if we're being honest. I've avoided talking about it for going on, what, 88 laps or something now, so it would be remiss of me to not allude to it at least once. But let's just hope that there's no post-race investigations needed after this one, and that everyone stayed within the bounds of pit exit and entry. That's also important. That was an item in the aftermath of our previous round at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the other oval qualifying series race. Some points changes in the aftermath as drivers got punished for infringing the rules. Couple of battles. Brophy finally caught up with Costantini, and it's another close call out at turn 2. Oh, that wind. Now, I'm not sure which direction the wind is going from. Remember, Trainer called out it was the gust of wind that almost snapped him off the corner and required the change of racing suit and the big save. Jason Brophy, probably a similar situation, was likely high on the weight jacket just to try and get the car to turn a little bit more down low. And very lucky to not pitch it around and bring us back under caution. The word from pit lane from our production team, shout out Dustin Ollis today, by the way. He says it's a tailwind off of turn 2. So guess what? Exactly what we were expecting. And Dustin, can you press the button? Can we get the weather up once more for the people at home to just 20? Okay. It's gone up to 27 now, just to be clear as well, right? We've seen this thing vacillate and fluctuate from anywhere as low as the 21s to anywhere as high as 29 or 31. That is quite significant and will really impact your in-car tool adjustment. So again, maybe surprising that we've only had one actual spin off of turn 2. And poor Seb Alexander, he's never going to live it down, is he? Race leader, 10 laps to go, though, here. Shadow of the Gateway Arch, Phil Kraus ready to build another house. And wow, what a series we are getting shaped up for now. I think there was a lot of consternation when the INDYCAR Buttkicker iRacing Pro Series was officially unveiled as to what the series would entail. How many oval races we'd get, who would be in the field? Would we get some of the iRacing INDYCAR regulars? Or would it just be the Coandas, the Apexes, the Red Lines? As it stands right now, you got Malechka, you got Traino, you got Chin, Crane. They're all inside of the top 12 in points. And expect that to potentially only increase after this respective race. Matt Holloway alongside of Kevin Burrell. This is the fight for 16th position. Quite remarkable that lap traffic really hasn't been such a factor today. It goes to show the strength of the field that we've had as a whole. No one necessarily off in terms of setup development and missing a couple of tenths of a second. And while we did see, of course, Holloway and Klendworth drop back after staying out on tires, they were also the ones suffering the most from the dirty air, so might have also burned through the Firestone tires slightly quicker than others. It seems to be a good fight, though, behind them. Don't expect either of the drivers switching back and forth to continue that fight. Romanidis and Klendworth just inside of your top 20. And inside of the top 5 as well. I think for the most part now, it's single-filed out. Costantini's been caught by Veyron. Soria is not far off with a pair of Coanda drivers. But again, we got short time right now. Big power move there from Holloway to hold on. Race lead has caught the traffic. And as they cycle their way around just a small bit of traffic, it's INDYCAR in that number 32 machine. These closing stages, it is once again private label team hype with power slide 1, 2, and 3. Now, I'll avoid the bias as much as I can up here in the commentary booth, but I think one thing that we have seen over the summer, and again going back to the makeup of the championship, Team i5G, even Indy Alliance Racing in some ways, the satellite racing team, the newly combined private label team hype with power slide crew, in a lot of ways, they've shown they have the setup ability to match the Apexes, the Red Lines, and the Coandas. And here on the ovals as well, maximizing the results. And as much as Michele Costantini is a Coanda driver, let's give him his fair shake and just remind everybody that he is very much an IndyCar specialist at the end of the day. Might be someone that you see compete in a prototype car here and there, but not much outside of that. Van der Sant let his teammate Kraus pass. He does the same to Jason Brophy, as now private label team hype officially 1 and 2. And Jason Brophy, like I mentioned earlier, I don't mean to denigrate his skills in any way, because works behind the scenes with Matt Busa in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. Very capable oval racer as well. Came so close to the 2020 iRacing Indy 500. He's got a solid chance of being in the top 33 in points at the end of this qualifying series. And being a part of the Pro Series, where those 4 oval races, he'll be a contender. That's for sure. At the very front of the field, the margin has grown. Behind Costantini, they have very much started to filter into line. Don't think they have time to battle. White flag in the air, though. It's Phil Kraus, ready to take yet another victory. And in the story of the summer of IndyCar, it has been the story of Phil Kraus. All he needs to win the VCO IndyCar Challenge powered by Open Wheels on Saturday and to beat the likes of Pinto and Costantini is to qualify for the race and finish inside of the top 10. He is one step closer to that black stripe, to competing in the INDYCAR Buttkicker Pro Series. It's Phil Kraus on top here in the shadow of the Gateway Arch. Jason Brophy in second, private label team hype and Powerslide Motorsports waltzing into victory lane here at the Worldwide Technology Raceway. Costantini and Veyron behind them will soak up the points for the purple and orange of Coanda. Same thing to be said for Drago Racing, for Soria and Toth. And I'm very, very intrigued to see what the points shakeup looks like. 2 races left to go. Road America and the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course calling our name on a Thursday night. Wonder if we're going to get some burnouts here down on victory lane. Phil Kraus has become quite adept at doing them, if we're being honest. They're getting ready for the team picture as well. Rest of the drivers filter their way into pit lane. Let's bask in this winning moment in the 5th round of the INDYCAR Buttkicker iRacing qualifying series. How disrespectful of Phil Kraus. Doesn't even wait for Jason Brophy to stop before he does his donuts. But look at those. Some perfect donuts being burned into the canvas here at the Worldwide Technology Raceway. And as Phil Kraus celebrates, let's go take a look at the race result. And a reminder, unofficial race results. Who knows what race control will have to say? Don't think there's much to say, though, about 2 seconds of victory and a margin for Phil Kraus. Brophy and Van der Sant behind, with Costantini, Veyron, Soria, Toth, and then Lichtenberg the first outside of those leading cars at the end. Bobby Zelensky dropped down, maybe hit the wall in the closing stages. Pablo Espes, final car inside the top 10, gets some very valuable points in his machine. With Peter Berriman, Jacob Oster, Adam Crane, Nick Sudik, Sota Muto, the rest of the top 15. Kevin Burrell just edges out Matt Hollowell with Michael Romanidis, Jeff Drake, and Andrew Marquez, your top 20. 21st went the way of Brian Campbell, with just Carl Clenworth and Manu Scoli left on the leading lap. 1 lap down for Indy Cassie and Josh Chin, who did what he could to try and maximize some points. Same to be said for Oscar Mang and Mark Murphy. Before you get into the used car lot, Luis Nunez, Brandon Traino, Seb Alexander, and then, of course, Luke McEwen, Josh Thompson, and Eric Wineland. Fastest lap went to Michele Costantini just after the pit stop cycle. After the first caution of the race, where those Coanda teammates stayed out. Let's head down, though, to victory lane for some post-race interviews. Phil Kraus standing by. And Phil, private label team hype with Powerslide 1, 2, and 3. Very interesting race, all things considered. Talk to us how you feel now, one step closer to the Pro Series.
Yeah, Arjun, it was definitely a lot more interesting than I think a lot of us thought it was going to be going in, because it was a pretty bog standard fuel save. If it went green all the way, and then the timing of the cautions kind of threw a wrench in that. That last run was probably on the limit of what a leader could do for a whole run if they were in front the whole time. So I think that really helped Alex get by Michele originally, and then that helped me probably get by Alex as well. But yeah, first off, just a big shout out to everyone at Private Label Team Hype and Powerslide Motorsports. Made an absolute rocket of a race car. Jason Brophy, as always, his short oval stuff is second to none.
And let's talk Saturday then, because like I said, one step closer to the Pro Series here, and one more round of the VCO IndyCar Challenge to come, as I was talking about on the broadcast. It's been a fun summer in the IndyCar, hasn't it been for you, Phil?
Oh yeah, it's been one of my busiest summers in the IndyCar for a while, but I love this car, so the more racing I can do in it, the better.
And before we let you go, still got Mid-Ohio and Road America still to come. Of course, Road America next week. That's your hometown track, so I know you'll be up for that one. But, you know, how do you feel like you sit right here, right now? With 2 rounds left to go, this win on the board as well, how do you think your chances of being in the top 33 are?
Definitely a lot more comfortable after these past 2 weeks. Obviously, Indy GP was huge. The oval races are a bit smaller strength of field, so the points haul isn't as big, but these last 2 weeks have been huge for me because the start of the season was pretty messy, to be honest. Just have to make sure I keep the car clean in the last 2 rounds, limit the bleeding, and we should be in the top 33.
Outside of those initial rounds, your summer's been pretty trouble-free, so hoping it continues. And Phil Kraus talking to us from Victory Lane in his private label team hype with Powerslide Motorsports entry. Let's go down to his teammate, though, Jason Brophy. I think mainly because we need to ask him, Jason, what happened out of turn 2 there?
Well, you mean when I tried to die?
Yes, that one.
In front of Michele? I've been running that line over and over, but I'd never had a narrow entry. And plowed a little more than I expected and snapped. But we saved it. We're fine. It's okay. We were still watching our fuel number and driving through the field. It was a lot of fun. It was about all I had.
Well, and a good result like this, Jason, I mean, it gets you a little bit more close to that goal of being in the top 33, right? How do you feel? I asked this to Phil. 2 races left to go, Road America and Mid-Ohio to come. How do you feel about your chances of being in that top 33?
Look, I did the best I could here. All I can do is go do the best I can at Road America and Mid-Ohio. 2 tracks I tend to like. I tend to qualify well at. Road America I'm a little slower, but I've got a lot of time at Mid-Ohio. I like that track a lot. So, we'll see. Hopefully I can run well, and we'll see how things fall. Charlie Sears is my idol, and we're trying to pull that here. But hopefully there'll be plenty of ovals on the calendar if I do make it, and I can make a splash there because it's a shot. You got to take your shot when you get a chance. So do the best I can and see what happens.
Like you say, got to take your chance. Phil gave you a big shout out, by the way. Your short oval setups are apparently always amazing. How busy has it been for you this week? Of course, we saw you race on Monday, which is uncommon because on Tuesday you had your eNASCAR responsibilities, first round of the playoffs. How busy has this summer been for you, Jason, getting everything together behind the scenes?
Good news is we've had a pretty good short oval package for a while, and bringing it over here when we joined Powerslide, we've been able to really improve the setups, fine-tune them. They were pretty rough around the edges, and that's one of the biggest things that's been a help around here. Big thing is found about a 10th last night after IAS. I didn't necessarily like what I saw. Found some extra time, and I think it paid off today. I think it showed. I was really good at the end of that race, especially off 2. That was the part that I think helped a lot. So, busy. Got a lot of stuff. I mean, Nick's in the playoffs. We're trying. Had a good race for Team Connie this week, except for Nick, sadly. In the playoffs, we 3 cars in the top 5, and then straight to this. They know I'm going for this, so they kind of understand, especially if the track's the same one for racing that week. So, I needed the practice, and it paid off this week.
Well, definitely did. Jason, congratulations on second, and we'll see how the rest of the qualifying series go. It was in the private label Team Hype with Powerslide Motorsports Bright Yellow Machine. One more interview. Let's go down to Alexander Van der Sant. Did the last to first challenge and ends up finishing in 3rd behind his 2 teammates, but making sure good points haul for the both of them. Alex, how do you feel about that race? Seemed like a fun one for you.
Yeah, that was great. Perfect strategy call for me. I had a great pace. Struggled a little bit at the end. I just killed my tires. Didn't quite save enough fuel trying to catch Josh. So, yeah, nothing really I could do against Phil and Jason. But, yeah, 2 podium lockouts for the team 2 nights in a row is fantastic. So, yeah, really happy with that. I know I'm out of the contention for the championship, but it was great to race with my team and, get them that points buffer. So, yeah, a lot of fun. Really happy with that.
And, we haven't seen you much on Monday nights, Alex. You've been off racing some other stuff, enjoying and exploring what iRacing has to offer. How much has it been fun for you, though, especially knowing your connection to INDYCAR, to be back in an INDYCAR this year? Because I know last year it was painful for us all.
Yeah, no, it's great. Having the broadcast back is awesome. It's a shame, I haven't been able to participate much in the Monday night races, but with running IAS this season, I've had quite a bit of success there. Top 3 in points, I think, for now at least. Yeah, it's been good. I definitely explored a lot in the last year, but it's good just having just regular INDYCAR races and doing what I know and what I'm good at.
And hoping we see plenty more of you on RaceSpot to come. Alex, congratulations on a great day for you and the team. We'll see more of you later on this year.
Thanks, guys.
Always great to chat to Alex Van der Sant, and as you mentioned, they're already kind of talking about the fact that he knows that his championship chances, at least of being there for the 10-round INDYCAR iRacing Buttkicker Pro Series, might already be in the history books. It's now just time for him to support his teammates. Well, next week, same time, same place. Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We rumble on over to America's National Park of Speed. In the shadow of Elkhart Lake, Road America stands as one of the best tracks in the world. Not just in the US, the world. High speed, high commitment, and while it seems simple with its 90-degree corners, it's anything but, especially knowing the compound strategy battles that we'll be in for. After that, one more round of the championship to come, August 29th, where all roads lead to the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. One final blast, one final chance for the drivers to get themselves into the top 33. And then after that, all roads lead to September the 19th and the start of the very first INDYCAR Buttkicker iRacing Pro Series. On behalf of our team behind the scenes, for Dustin Ollis, producing all the action, my name's Arjuna Kankipati. So glad you joined us once again, and can't wait to see 2 more weeks to go until we kick off championship action. Phil Kraus on top in the shadow of the Gateway Arch. We'll see you next week from Road America.